Hi everyone, it's Marilyn Alauria and welcome to Is That My Guide's Voice? 5 simple tools to communicate with your guides and trust the answers. So if you're just joining me now, go grab a pen and paper really fast because this is going to be an extremely interactive webinar. I am all about you getting to do the work tonight or today whenever you're watching this and really getting to know your guides, and I'm super excited about this work. So go grab a pen and paper and come sit down, grab a cup of tea, and get ready for some fun. And the other thing I want you to do is to really clear some clutter from your desk and from your mind, because this is going to be really exciting for you. They've been talking to me, all your guides, and they're just working through me. So close your computer tabs, turn off your Facebook, turn off your phone, close your door. Really give yourself this opportunity to be with them. This is going to be better than meditating. And it's going to really allow you the opportunity to open up blocks that you've been feeling you've been experiencing. And remember to stay on because there'll be a Q&A and I'll be answering your questions at the end of this webinar. And we're also going to talk about a little Marilyn money. I have a little surprise about Marilyn money, so I'm going to tell you how to get your hands on some of that. But before we do that, I'm really curious and I want to hear from you guys. Are you in contact with your guides? And if not, what has kept you from being in contact with them? So let me know, are you in contact with your guides? And if not, what has kept you from being in contact with them? There's many things that may have been keeping you from being in contact with them, which we're going to go over today in the webinar. So I'm really excited to see what you say and where you may be struggling and all of that. And also tell me where you're from. Cara Ann says, creating time each day. Nicole says stress has blocked communication with guides. Great. That's a good one, Nicole, because that happens quite a bit. We are overwhelmed and we're stressed. And like Karen's right, creating time each day to talk to them. So let me ask you this. Do you feel your guides are around you and they want to help you? Angie says it's new to me. Nicole says she definitely feels them around them, and Sue says she feels them around them. And yes, Raven, that's what you type. Mark says he feels them around them. Elizabeth says, I haven't felt completely connected, but had some success when meditating. That's great. We're going to talk about different ways that you can connect with them. And you're going to connect with them tonight. Do you ask them questions but don't understand the answers? That's a big one too. Like you don't understand what they're saying to you. So do you ask them questions but don't understand the answers? Raven says, yes, I feel they are around. Nancy says, yes. So Jay says, I talk to them but don't experience replies. So we're going to talk about how they're replying to you and how you may not be understanding it. Kathy says, I sometimes but can't understand what they mean. That's a really good one, Kathy. Understanding the meaning behind the answers of your guides is a process. It's getting to know them. It's getting to know how they're saying it to you, what the symbol means, what's the information behind it. Nancy says, I feel them, but I don't always know what they mean. So great. You can see a lot of you are in the same kind of boat. So that's great. You're in the perfect place for this because we are going to go over a lot of this tonight. So I'm going to talk about first where some people get stuck. One of the biggest places people get stuck is am I clear enough? In the beginning when I was meditating and talking with my guides, I thought I had to be in like 100% meditation to talk to them. I wasn't recognizing that they were talking to me throughout my day. And I also get from people like, is it okay if I drink soda? Will they still talk to me? What happens if I go out and have Kentucky Fried Chicken? They will talk to you all the time. But it's normal in the beginning to not know if you're clear enough to receive their guidance. Another thing is, does that symbol mean anything? I mean, how many of you are already seeing repetitive symbols like feathers or pennies or butterflies, and you don't even know if it means anything? You think like, maybe I'm making this up. Is this my imagination? Is this because I want something to be there? And that's my cute little dog Micah when he was a puppy. Am I really hearing them? You're hearing answers, but it sounds like your own voice. You think you're making it up. And here's another big one. You're hearing answers that you really want to hear, and you think you're making it up. Let me give you a clue right now. If you're hearing something you really want to hear, that's your truth. Follow it. Whether you think it's your guides or not does not matter. The fact that you want to hear it, follow it. It'll take you down a road, and it'll allow you to continue to expand, open up, and grow. Sometimes you feel them. You might feel them on your physical body, or you might feel an energy around you, but it's inconsistent, which makes you question whether they're really with you or not, or why. What's happening? Why are they coming in and out? Or how about this? This is a good one. You see the signs. You may be seeing butterflies all the time, and you're like, but I don't know. Is that true? Or you may be having synchronistic things happening. Somebody tells you about a book, and then the book falls off the shelf, and then somebody else tells you how that book changed your life. But you still think like, no, it can't be. It must be in my imagination. I must be making it up. Those are the old beliefs that are inside of you that help make you not believe them. So we're going to address all of these issues today. But first, I want to tell you some really fun stories. I like teaching through stories, and we're going to play a lot of games throughout the entire webinar. So this is me. I was dressing up as a witch. I even think my glasses in this picture have a bat on them. And I was getting information early on, but I didn't know what I was getting, and I was told it was my imagination. I was being too dramatic. I was being too emotional. So instead of doing something with it, I just stuffed it down. And I didn't know. So it was like I was sitting on top of a volcano. And what happened to me? I became depressed. I became miserable. I was unhappy. I was stuck. Here I am working at MTV. A great job. But I was so unhappy. I was like crying every day. And I knew that there was something out there because I was already playing around with tarot cards, and I was doing dream work, and I was studying symbols. But I just didn't know how it applied to my life. I was kind of stuck in this way of, let me read your tarot cards. Let me help you. But really, can it help me? And then I finally found this therapist who knew how to work with mediums. And she started helping me to open up. And I started channeling. And this was over like 13, 14 years ago. And by channeling with my guides and working with my guides, I became peaceful. I started trusting myself. I started changing my life, and the direction of my life changed completely. I became more aligned with my soul. I understood my purpose. I understood why things were going on. So I'm sure many of you relate to this. You relate to the experience of feeling them around you, and deep in your heart knowing there's something bigger out there and that they want to help you. But you may be feeling like you're constantly hitting a wall, or you're not getting the results. You're trying and you're working so hard, but nothing's opening up. And I know that you all feel ready to live a soul-empowered life, a life where you're aligned with your soul, and you know in your heart that your guides can get you there. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know that. And this was a huge one for me. I felt so alone. I felt so isolated. And I wanted to feel like someone had my back, that someone unconditionally loved me. When I made a mistake, I didn't want to have to hide my head in the sand. I wanted to feel like, teach me what that mistake was about, love me through it, and show me the way. And they do that. And you're done with living by other people's agendas. People like your parents or teachers or even friends telling you you can't be something that you know in your heart you want to be. Your guides know your purpose, and they want to show you how to get there. They want to help guide you. So I'm going to introduce you to my first guide, but before I do that, I want to tell you a story. So when I was working with the therapist that was helping me as a medium, I felt this energy next to me, and it was just leaning on me on the left side. And I went into her office and I said, you know, I'm having like this weird energy into me. I just feel like it's pushing me over. And she said, okay, close your eyes and tap into it and tell me what you have. And that's when I met my first guide. And I just started giving her information. And I knew to trust it because I did all this dream work, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the webinar. And this was my first guide. Yes, he was a gnome. He didn't like me calling him a gnome. We used to get into these little funny little battles. He'd be like, I'm not a gnome. And I'm like, yes, you are a gnome. You look like a gnome. And the reason why he showed up that way is because he was so close in proximity to me that if he came in like this huge presence, I wouldn't have felt worthy for him. I wouldn't have been able to open up to his energy. I wouldn't have been able to experience him, and he knew it. So he came in as this character, and he taught me all about my other guides. He got me ready. He got me ready to how to meet them, how to raise my vibration, how to understand their symbols, how to get into meditation with them. He was my roadmap to them. He's no longer with me, but he set it up for me. So I want to tell you a story about trusting my guides, because I teach through experience because I learn best through experience. And I want to show you what they have done for me so that you can, I'm sure many of you already have had experiences that you're like, yeah, I remember that moment. It was such a magical moment. Was that really my guide? I can guarantee it was. So I was looking to purchase a house, and I only had a certain amount of money, and I was looking at different places and different properties, and this house fell in my lap that was a short sale, and short sales are very, very difficult to get. And my guides kept telling me to buy this house, buy this house, buy this house, and I was like, are you sure? And they were like, yes, buy this house. This is what they told me to buy. Look at that picture, seriously. And I trusted them, and I got the house. It's a short sale, and I got it. And then I found out the entire house needed to be gutted and remodeled. And I cried. I was freaking out. I'll never forget walking through the house with the contractor that I was thinking of hiring and this designer. And she was walking around with this huge scarf over her mouth because she was afraid to breathe in the fumes of my house. And the contractor was giving me ideas of how much it was going to cost. And he was like, do you have the money? And I was like, no, I'm applying for a loan. And he's like, loans take forever. You don't even know if you're going to get the loan. Well, I didn't hire either one of them. My guides brought me this most angelic architect who gave me his business for half the price, took me under his wing, and helped me to build my house. And I got the loan, and this is the house I have today. And had I not listened to them, had I not trusted them, had I sat in fear instead, I would never have had this house that I live in today that I love. And I really needed to get out of apartment living because I was so sensitive. Look at my beautiful dogs. Micah has little reindeer ears on in that picture, and Venus is just her little happy self. But here's the issue. Got this house, great house, and I was in a tremendous amount of debt, $150,000. And I was waking up every single night freaking out about this debt. I didn't know what to do. And I started praying to my guides, like, what do? I don't know what to do. And they said, for the next 3 weeks, you have to trust us. Anytime you get scared about this debt, you have to literally put out your hand and hand it to us. So by the third day of me doing that, this entire course that I was going to teach dropped into my system. The 28-day challenge, constant communication with your guides. And this was amazing for me because this was the platform of what I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach everyone how to communicate with their guides because it completely shifted and changed my life. It took me from suicidal, depressed, to living a life that had so much more meaning, that was inspiring, that was beautiful, that was joyful. So I was so excited, and I was sitting down and I was writing all the notes to this class. And about 3 days later, from writing like this class, the entire way of how to get out of debt dropped into my system. And I believe I was writing that class around August, September. I was out of debt by the end of that year. That's what your guides can do to you. So I want to give you the tools that helped me. I want to give you the tools, 5 tools today, to help you to be in constant communication with your guides so you can build a solid relationship and they can help you in every area of your life. I wanted you to open up to the synchronicity and start witnessing it in your everyday life so you can start trusting them and truly believing they are there. When I sit in complete faith with my guides and I trust the direction, it's like this beautiful roadmap that is just so colorful and so perfect, and it just takes me exactly where I need to go. And that's what's available to you. I am speaking from experience. I am not teaching you something that is fluff, that's a thought in my mind. I'm telling you what it is like for me. So I'm going to teach you these techniques today. And I'm not going to be talking through the whole thing. We're going to be playing some games. And you're going to walk away feeling confident talking to your guides every day. And you're also going to start trusting the messages and following the direction that they are giving you. And you're going to align with your soul's purpose. And this will help you to live a life that is full of peace and joy. So what I'm going to teach you is called the LIFTT Method. My guides are teaching guides, so they're constantly throwing in information for me to teach others. And we're going to go over language, imagination, feeling, trust, and technique. In each one of these areas, we're going to play a game, and then at the end, I'm going to give you a game that combines all of them where you get the technique, and you can use that every single day to build this relationship with your guides. We're going to talk about their unique language, and we're going to go over the physical symbolic language especially for this webinar so you can start understanding those repetitive symbols. It's really important that you start learning how they're communicating to you and what those symbols mean. And then we're going to talk about imagination. I studied with a lot of famous mediums, and they tried to make me afraid of imagination, like, oh, don't use your imagination. Oh, no, 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 no. You're going to open the door to your imagination because that's going to let your guides in. And we're going to talk about feeling, how to feel them, how to really start paying attention to it. If I wasn't really conscious about my feeling, I would have never felt that little guy leaning up against me, which was so important, which was the catapulting me into communicating with my guides. And then we're going to talk about trust. This is such a huge one for everybody, and I'm going to give you a quick, surefire way to start trusting them today. And then we'll do the techniques at the end. We're going to do techniques, like I said, in each one, and then we'll do the mother of all techniques, combining everything, where you'll meet your guide and you'll be able to start communicating. But first, I want to tell you a story. It's really important to me that you learn by stories because that's how I learn. So hopefully this will be important to you. Michelle was sitting where you were. She was watching one of my webinars, and she just suffered a really big loss, her husband, her true love. And she had gone to a bunch of mediums to try to communicate with him because they were having a difficult time getting in touch with him. And she was looking for one specific thing as well. So she started working with me, and I started teaching her how to understand the symbolic language of her guides so that she could talk to her husband. And I gave her a technique, an exercise that I would love for all of you to do, where I had her for 30 days pick one symbol a day and to analyze that symbol, to break down that symbol, to learn the meaning of that symbol. By like the 7th day, she posted in the Facebook group that she was having magical things happening. She won like, I think, $750 in a bingo game. And it was like she was so excited by what she was learning. But then like a couple of weeks went by and she was struggling again because she really wanted to talk to her husband. So I worked with her on the Facebook page, and then the next day there was a post, oh my goodness, I saw my husband. I saw him. So that's what this work can do. So Michelle is starting to do this work herself for others, so you can reach her at that Gmail address. So right now I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine what it would feel like. What would your life be like if you were in constant communication with your guides? Just imagine it. What would it feel like in your body? What would your life be like outside? Where would you be living? Now open your eyes and tell me how that would feel. What would it feel like to be with your guides? What would it feel like to be in constant communication with them? What do you think they would be telling you? Where do you think you'd be living? What do you think your life would be like? Would you think you'd be feeling peaceful? Yeah, Elizabeth said right away, peaceful. Amy says a lot of joy. Frankie says that he feels like he'd be just in a lot of peace, a lot of peace. Stella says giddiness and excitement. Angie says comfort. Melly says blissful. Kathy says calm and worry-free. Karen says, as with good support, loving and peaceful. Debbie says fun with exclamation point. I love that. That's great. Nancy says in flow of peace. There you go. And Jennifer says safe. Safe is a big one. I've been hearing a lot about that. You do feel very safe when you're in contact with them. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the L in LIFTT. Language. So we're going to talk about specifically the symbolic language of your guides so you can understand how they're using symbols to communicate with you. And for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to be talking about physical symbols, symbols you see out in the earth, on your third dimensional life. There's symbols that you're already seeing, repetitive symbols, repetitive numbers. I mean, how many are you already seeing these repetitive symbols all the time? I know when I was starting out, I was seeing numbers constantly, or I was seeing ladybugs or beetles, like constantly showing up. So we're going to talk about these repetitive symbols and numbers and what it means. So the reason why they use repetition is they're trying to get your attention. They want to get your attention. They want to do this through repetition. So I remember I was doing this already for many years, working full-time, and I was going through a major upheaval and change, and I kept seeing butterflies wherever I went. And butterflies have a huge significance for me, very big. And after a while, even me, I had said to my guides, come on, it must just be butterfly season. Do you know what? They took the butterflies away. And I learned from that day on to never question the repetitive symbols again. The energy behind the symbol, there will be an energy behind it. So when I was studying clairvoyancy, which is clear seeing, I didn't see this anywhere. And like I said, my guides are teaching guides. And I was walking through the park one day, and I kept seeing the squirrels. And you know, squirrels are in the park all the time. But it was like the squirrels and I were on a first date, and everything else went out of focus, and it was just the squirrels and me. It was like we were having a love affair. And I knew that the energy behind them, it was so vivid. It was so like you could touch it. I knew my guides were trying to tell me something through these squirrels. And I looked it up, and what it was about having fun and playing, and it definitely made sense because I was all about work, working on myself, working on my business, working on everything. And that's what they were doing. So you want to pay attention, like if you're walking down a street and your eye lingers on something a little bit longer than normal, or if all of a sudden everything else goes out of focus and that one thing gets into focus. Those are your guides telling you about the symbols. What this work does is it makes you very conscious. It starts making you live in the moment more when you start connecting with your guides and walking the earth with them. So I can tell you for so long I tried to be in the moment. And once I just joined with my guides and started recognizing they were talking to me throughout the day, me worrying about being in the moment kind of fell away. So let me tell you about a symbol that I used to get, which is the FedEx truck. I was opening up, I was starting to study, and everywhere I went, I saw a ton of FedEx trucks. And I was like, I think this means that something major is happening. It just fell into my system. When you see a physical symbol, by the way, ask your guides whether you feel like you're in contact with them or not. Ask them to throw in the meaning. Ask them to drop in the meaning with the symbol, and they'll drop it in eventually. So I was working with a medium, and I told him what was going on, and he said, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's all about when really something big changes. So just the other day, just a week ago, I was sitting down on my emails, and I received a disappointing email, and I was about to write the person back when I looked up, and outside my window was a FedEx truck. And I started feeling that feeling like, oh, wait a second, there's something really good here. I don't have to accept this response. And then the guy was delivering a package to my door. So I opened up my door. We had this incredible, magical conversation for like 30 minutes. And then I went back to my desk and I wrote this really powerful response email. And right away I got another email, when can we meet? And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. That's what your guides will do for you. I want to tell you another quick story of a client before we get into games. So I had this client, and she was listening to a meditation of mine, how to meet her higher self. And her higher self gave her a ladybug. And she was like, come on, ladybugs, that's ridiculous. And she got really annoyed. So the next day she went to the beach, and she's sitting on the beach, and she's meditating with her higher self. And she opens up her eyes, and what does she see? These are the actual pictures. Ladybugs all over her hands, her fingers, her arms. And she wrote me, and she was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. I will never ignore the signs again. So let me ask you, if that happened to you, if you saw those ladybugs, would you know what your guides were trying to tell you? Would you understand it? Many of you may be saying, I don't know. I don't think I would know what it meant, Marilyn. How do I learn? And that's what I'm going to teach you. You can Google it. So you can Google the symbolic language of a ladybug, and ladybugs will come up, and you'll have like 1,000 websites. Make sure you take the one that resonates with you. I recently had this on my Facebook page where somebody had said they saw a message, a symbolic meaning, and it didn't resonate with them and it made them really uncomfortable. And when they told me what the symbol was, I was like, oh no, this is what it means. And I gave them a different meaning and that resonated with them. You can also look it up in books. So when I was doing dream work, studying the symbolic meaning of the symbols in my dream, the internet didn't exist. This was many, many years ago. So I went to books. Or you can ask yourself. How do you ask yourself? Well, let's play some games first, and then I'm going to teach you how to ask yourself what that symbol means. So write in the chat box, what do owls mean to you? I want to know what owls mean to you. What do owls mean to you? I get wisdom, sight, smart, Elizabeth says. Somebody says magic. Darren says who with a question mark, which is great. Rose says intelligent. Teresa says old spirit. Sue says wise, all-seeing, calm, and patient. Beva says wisdom, be on the lookout for. So she went further. Laura says awareness. Trusted experience from Jan. Knowledge. Raven says present. Great. Ian says artwork on a cover of a rock band I love. Kathy says leader through the night of a tough time. Love that. Suzanne says wise, observers, quiet, predators, night, otherworldly. The reason why I'm reading these is because I want you to recognize that you've all had different answers. Yes, there's a lot of wisdom in there, but you had different answers to this. And the reason is because you're all pulling from your own personal experience. So like Debbie says, I had 3 baby owls in my yard yesterday. Too crazy. So you just want to know the experience of it. So here's another one. What does a clock mean to you? What does a clock mean to you? Nicole says pressure. Love that. Beatrix says linear thinking. Raven says speed. Kath, I believe that's the name, says time passing. Elizabeth says pressure. Sue says time is precious. Shannon says time management. Laura says restrictions. Karen says time to move forward or I'm running out of time. Melly says the delusion of time. Kathy says get it done. So again, you can see Jan says something needs attention and Kathy says progress. So you can see that you have different understanding. Ian says angel numbers, synchronicity from spirit guides, repeating numbers, numerology. Change is coming, Teresa. So every moment counts, Sandra. Linda says an entity. So you could see how you all have different experiences of those symbols because you're basing it. You just read a symbol. You guys just broke down 2 symbols for yourself. So when you see the 3 baby owls in your yard, this is what I want you to do. I want you, when the next time you see a symbol, is to remember the first time you ever saw that symbol. That might have been yesterday. That might have been 2 hours ago. That might have been 15 years ago. So right now I'm looking out my yard at white roses. White roses for me remind me of white carnations. And white carnations when I was growing up were very important in my spirituality. And it was the pressure, like the intensity between what I knew to be spiritual and then the Catholic confines I was in. So there was mixed feelings about it. Then you want to ask yourself, what was your experience like back then? Well, white for me, white roses, white carnations, they're very spiritual, but I wanted my own spirituality. I didn't want to be told what my spirituality was. Then you want to ask yourself, when you see the symbol today, what were you thinking about when you saw it? What were you thinking about? So right now I'm looking at my white roses. I'm teaching you guys how to get in touch with your guides. I'm teaching my way of spirituality. So it's very profound for me. And then when you see it, how did it make you feel? So you want to know how it made you feel. So start asking yourself, take a screenshot of this if you can. Start asking yourself these questions, and this will help you to understand what your guides are saying to you by the symbols they're showing to you. So work with these tools every day and you really will start understanding the symbolic language they use. Pick a symbol a day to work with. So now we're going to talk about the I in LIFT, which is imagination. And imagination is so important to speak to your guides. Your guides use out-of-box thinking. They don't think linear. The people that think formulaically and linear, they don't believe in guides. But your imagination allows you access and creative ways to communicate with your guides. So don't be afraid of your imagination. Remember something, we're all creative, our souls are creative, and our guides speak to our soul. So there's Micah on his back, and I love both my dogs, but Micah just does some funny things. And dream work, I really had to trust my imagination because I would do a dream assignment about a question, and the next day when I went into the teacher, she would say, well, what color was the blouse in the dream? And I wasn't allowed to say I don't remember. I had to say a color right away. And it always happened, whatever I said in response, if I didn't remember it specifically from the dream, led to all this magical answers. So I learned early on to trust my imagination. That's why when my guide was leaning against me, I was able to trust it right away because I knew that it was going to lead to something magical. Here's a student of mine, Peroska. She didn't even know she was an artist, and this is her painting. And Peroska took one of my classes, and she really learned to trust what she felt and to trust her imagination. And now she does readings. She's in my membership program, and she does readings for people, and she'll put up her paintings of that person after she reads them. And they're absolutely beautiful. She just put a painting up today that she was working on, and they're just so beautiful and significant. So if you want to get in touch with Peroska, you can get in touch with her there at facebook.com/heartwaves. And look at this guy, Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world, right? If Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, if they didn't believe in their imagination, and believe me, so many things went on where they came across what we would consider failures. They didn't consider them failures. They knew the dream in their heart was meant to happen. And if these guys didn't do it before us, we'd all be in loincloths still. So trust your imagination. All right, let's play with your imagination now. So close your eyes. Breathe into your stomach. Or you can breathe into any part of yourself, pulling your energy back into yourself. Think of something you want to know. And open your eyes and scan the room. Stop. Wherever your eyes stopped, I want you to just look at that area, look at that object. And I want you to ask it and use your imagination, why did you stop there? What is it trying to tell you? And you have to trust everything that comes to you. What does it want you to know? And if you're not getting anything from it, ask yourself, do you like this object? Who gave you this object? Where did you buy this object? Does it make you feel good? Does it not make you feel good? See what the object wants you to know. And apply those answers to the question you had in your mind when you closed your eyes. And don't worry about answering the question fully. Just allow the information to be applied to it. Because a lot of times it may not answer the question fully, but it'll give you more information and get you closer to the answer. So I hope that you had fun with that, and we're going to play more with that in a bit. So let's talk about the F in LIFT, which is feeling. Paying attention to how you feel is so much more important to whether it's your imagination or not. This is going to be your key way of communicating with your guides. Again, remember, if I didn't pay attention to how I was feeling with him leaning up against me, I wouldn't have started talking to him. So there he is, my cute little gnome, reminding you, pay attention to feeling. I may be pushing on you. I have clients, literally, when I used to read in person, they'd be like falling off their chair, and I'd be like, do you notice you're leaning to the right? And they'd be like, no, really? And I'd be like, oh my goodness, you're about to fall off the chair. So Sue she's actually a medium now, and she has studied under me for a while, and she paid attention to the feeling in her chakras to connect to her guides. And she really helped by paying attention to the feeling in her chakras, the colors in her chakras. They were able to start talking to her, and now she's in complete communication with them. So what can it feel like? It can feel like a light touch on your arm. It could feel like a cool breeze. It could feel like a piece of hair falling on your arm, and then you look down and there's no hair there. It could feel like a hair standing up. It could feel like a weight pushing on you. Or before I fully opened up, they used to grab me. They used to grab my feet. You know, it was really not very fun in the beginning. I was like, could you please stop doing that? It's scaring the heck out of me. So you want to pay attention also to cold air or hot air or the warmth inside your body. When my guides are giving me an answer to something, their answer is very neutral. There's no excitement, there's no sadness, there's no happiness, there's nothing. If I'm asking a question, the energy behind their answer is extremely neutral. It's very peaceful. It's not even peaceful because it's a feeling to me. It's very neutral. The reason why they do that is a lot of times I'm asking things that are very close to my heart. So if they give me a neutral answer, I know how to trust it, that it's them. I know to not be like, oh, that's what I really wanted to hear, so I'm going to second guess this. No, the answer came in neutral, came in with no emotional energy. That's the answer. So remember that object? So let's play with some feeling. Close your eyes and feel it. Feel what it feels like. And you can even go up to it and walk up to it if you want. You could feel if it's cold or if it's hot. Or if you're sitting far away from it, draw a line of energy, a colored line of energy from you to that object. Notice how it feels when you're just paying attention to that object. Where does it hit you in the body? Like right now, the object that I'm paying attention to, it hits me in my third eye. Does it feel like it's cloudy? Does it feel like it's light? Does it have a color to it? Can you breathe easy feeling it? Is your breathing heavy? Do you feel any kind of tingling sensation or chills? Okay, you can open your eyes. Just opening up to how objects feel will help you to open up to your guides. So you can walk around your house and you could put your hand over something and be like, what does that feel like? What does that chair feel like? Then you can start asking yourself even like, do I like this chair? Where did I get this chair? What does this chair make me think of? What do I think about chairs in general? And you're starting to build on your communication with your guides because you're starting to understand what physical objects mean to you. All right, so now we're going to talk about the T in LIFTT, which is trust. Trust. How can I trust my guides? How many times do I get this question? How can I trust it's really them? You know, I get it. I get it. When I was opening up, I said to my guides, how do I know that like you're really here and it's not my imagination? And they said to me, we're giving you fantastic advice. Who cares if it's your imagination? That shut me up. I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't care anymore. Remember this little guy? Well, my guides kept telling me to get a puppy. I just lost my dog and I was really upset. And I had Venus and they said, get a puppy, get a puppy, get a puppy. They just would not leave me alone. So I went and got a puppy. And my whole world got crazy because I got extremely busy. My business started expanding. And I had this puppy. And my other dog, Venus, was difficult as it was because I wasn't able to train them right. Had every trainer in the book through my house. And my guides kept saying, stick with the puppy, stick with it, stick with it. And I even had a trainer tell me to get rid of it. And he was like, you can't handle these dogs, get rid of them. Well, thank goodness I didn't listen to him and I listened to my guides because this dog is a therapy dog. And we go into Children's Hospital and we do work with kids. Just yesterday I had him in a park and I was at a camp. There were kids in a camp and they were all like pounding on him and pulling his tail. I would have never had that experience. I would have never had the experience where I have two of my dogs where we go to the beach together off leash. We go hiking off leash. I have the best time with my dogs. I would have never had that had I listened to the trainer and not listened to my guides. So trust your guides. Because let me tell you something. I'll tell you a story about Vera first. Vera was freaked out by the symbols and the signs she was getting, and she took my 28-day challenge. And she learned to trust and interpret the signs of her guides. She's in my membership program too. She's just accelerating. And I love what she says. She says she loves the signs now because they guide her through the river of life. And there's so much truth in that statement. Like if you follow me, you know that I'm very transparent. And I'll let you know when I'm having a bad day. And then I'll tell you what happened with my guides that helped me get through the bad day. Things like that are going to happen. I'm not telling you that you're going to have a woo, happy, joyful life. My life, what I'm telling you is that when something happens and I get thrown a bit, I have a guidance system that I go to, and they're like, this is why this is happening, this is what you need to do, and this is where you need to go. And then I snap out of it a lot quicker than I used to. You have nothing to lose by trusting them. You only have something to lose by not trusting them. You have everything to gain by trusting them. So I want you to close your eyes right now, and I want you to think of a time when you really trusted a decision you made. Think of a time when you really trusted a decision you made. How did it feel? Where did that trusting feeling live inside your body? Get in touch with that. What color is it? Breathe into it. What does it feel like? What was going on? What made you trust? How does it feel to live in your body today in that trust? Know that that place always exists inside of you. You can open your eyes. And whenever you struggle with trust again, tap into that place. It'll help you to continue to trust. So here we are with the last T in LIFTT, which is technique. Are you ready to have a lot of fun? I hope you're having fun already. Can't imagine you're not, because I like to teach in a fun way. So I'm going to teach you techniques where these are techniques you can use every single day, and I'm going to make a promise that your life will change. So you're going to do a lot of these techniques right now, because remember something. You don't go from fab to fab in just one day at the gym. You may go to the gym and want to work out your stomach because you're not liking the rolls or whatever's happening. That doesn't happen after one exercise. No, what happens is you keep going back and you start seeing results. It's the same thing with working with your guides. Even on the days when there are days that I curse them out, or I curse out God. I believe in God. So it's whatever you believe in. I don't care. I have those moments. And I have to have those moments because I need to express myself. I need to see the uncomfortability. That's where change happens. And then the next day I'm like, okay, tell me what I need to know. What's going on? I don't even have to apologize because they know they love me. They know I'm sorry. And then we move on and something big changes. So it's really great. So the first technique is trust. You are going to write in the chat room right now, Marilyn, I promise you, I am going to trust for the next 30 days. Or name your guide. Say, I promise my guide I'm going to trust for the next 30 days. And anytime doubt creeps in, I am making this promise that I am going to trust for the next 30 days. And I don't care if that doubt comes in on the 15th day. Then say, I am going to trust on the next 15 days. So that's what I want to see you write in. I promise. See, Raven says, I promise my guides I'm going to trust for the next 30 days. Doesn't it feel good? Say it out loud, guys. Say it out loud. Michael says, I promise I'm going to trust for the next 30 days. I love it. I can feel the energy, the conviction in it. Ian says, I promise to trust my guides for the next 30 days. Karen, I promise to trust them. I promise to trust whatever comes in the next 30 days. Good. Jennifer says, I do, and I will continue to promise. Great. And what you're going to do then is come visit me on my Facebook page at marilynalauria.com, marilynalauria1, and you're going to tell me how that trust is working out for you. I am very, very interactive on my Facebook page, so let me know if you're struggling. I don't do readings on this page. Those are for my private pages, but you can let me know what's going on, and I will help you. All right, so let's get into some really fun techniques where you're going to meet a guide. And think of a question you would like answered. Some of you already got the sheets that you got in the emails if you opened your email. For those of you who didn't, we'll walk you through this. Think of a question you would like answered. Now, I want you to pick an animal, an insect, a flower, and a famous person. And I don't want you to worry about who what animal? Oh my goodness, I got a bat. I don't want a bat. Don't worry about it. Just pick an animal, an insect, a flower, and a famous person. And we're going to use some active imagination. Remember the exercise you did with the object? Well, now we're going to do it with symbols and your guide. So I want you to pick a guide, any guide. It may be a guide you're already working with. It might be an angel or an ascended master. It might be an animal. It could be the tree. It could be the sky. It could be the moon. It could be you don't know. And if you don't pick a loved one in spirit, I prefer you don't do that, because a lot of times people get caught up in their loved ones and having the personality. They expect them to have the same personality, and they don't. They change. So I prefer you don't pick a loved one right now. And if you can't think of a guide, pick one from this list. And if you don't know who some of these people are, but you're connected to Ganesh and you're like, I know who Ganesh is, I think, but I don't know a lot about him, just pick it. Don't worry about it. So pick a guide. All right. Imagination is key. Remember it? So you have to use that. You're not allowed to work with me unless you use your imagination. So close your eyes and think of that question you have. And I want you to ask your guide to come close to you. And ask them to stand in a specific spot. And maybe they don't want to stand. Maybe you have to tell them where to stand. And I usually prefer in front of you. But some people like behind you, so it's okay wherever you want them to stand. But they have to stand in that specific spot. And I want you to just start breathing with them and feeling them. What does it feel like to be near them? What does it feel like to mix your breath with them? And maybe you have a hard time seeing them, but if you don't, what color are they right now? Breathe into that color. See a line, a colored line of energy coming from them to you. Notice where that color line of energy hits you. Where is it in your heart? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your feet? And breathe back and forth in that colored line of energy. It's almost like an umbilical cord that connects you. And if that makes you uncomfortable, you can hold the cord. You don't have to have it attached to your body. So just take some breaths with them now, seeing the colored energy, the colored breath going up and down that line, connecting to them. And now I want you to think of that animal. And I want you to ask them, and the answer may just drop into you. You just may come to the answer. What characteristic stands out to you about that animal? What characteristic stands out to you about that animal? Now ask about the insect or the bug. What don't you like about it? So even if you pick ladybugs or butterflies, try to come up with something that you don't like about it. Maybe you don't like to see them dead. Like I have a really hard time seeing ladybugs squashed. It makes me sad. What don't you like about it, that insect or bug? Maybe you like looking at them and not crawling on you. And think about the flower. What do you like about the flower? What do you like about the flower? Or maybe your guide's giving you all these answers and just keep trusting it. And now the famous person. What do you admire about the famous person? What do you admire about them? Now I want you to breathe in with your guide and feel those into their energy again and thank them for being with you. And even if you had a hard time seeing them, if it was just fleeting, don't worry about it because you're trusting, remember? And thank them for being here with you. And you can give them a time and date when you want to meet with them again. And breathe into your body again. Feel your feet against the floor, your butt against the chair, back against the chair, and open your eyes. So I always ask secret questions that you don't know that I'm asking. So I asked about the animal, a characteristic about the animal. And the question that I was really asking your guides to give you was, it's a characteristic you have now that you need to reawaken. So say you got an owl and it was wisdom, then you need to reawaken that ancient wisdom inside of you. So it's a characteristic you have now that you need to reawaken. So the insect is something you have but may not like and need to embrace or change. So again, say it was ladybugs. Ladybugs are about wish fulfillment. So if I saw this, I would think, and I asked you what you didn't like about it. So I'd be like, I don't like to see dead ladybugs. That would mean to me, I'm afraid my wishes aren't going to come true. So this is something, and I know that I need to just trust that, because if a wish doesn't come true, that means there's something better behind it. So it's something you have but may not like and need to embrace or change. So it might be a belief that you have. It might be a characteristic you have. You're going to go further into this after the webinar. Flower, something you're opening up to, something you liked about the flower. It's something you're opening up to. And the famous person is a characteristic you have or are growing into right away. So I'd love to hear what you found from this. So write that in the chat room, but I'm going to continue on, okay, because I want to keep this moving along. So the famous person, a characteristic you have or growing into. So to go further into these symbols, I'll see what some of you wrote first. To go further into these symbols, you can Google it. Do not Google it now and leave the webinar. You're not allowed to do that. I will know. I'm a witch. You can look it up in a book, and you can get further insight. So when you read about ladybugs, if that's the bug you had, the insect, you'll read about what their magic is. And then you might notice, wow, I really shut that down in myself. I need to open that up. So you'll learn about different things. Read about the famous person on Wikipedia, or Google them and watch what article comes up. What do you need to learn about yourself that you need to open up to? So Beatrice got, no, it's Angie, sorry. Angie got clever, polished, outgoing, accomplished, and tall. So that's great, Angie. So she's getting things. And what you want to do, Sierra got white dove, wingspan, taking flight. So Sierra, you want to take that and apply it to your question. You want to take all these things and apply it to your question. Joni said, amazing. Every bit was right on. Hey, Joni, you just communicated with your guides and see how easy it was? I say that with love, sweetie, because it's so important to me to get people to start doing this. Raven asks, what if your animal characteristic is negative? It's like a tarot card. So if there's something negative about it, you want to look at your fear around it. You want to look at what that negative trait may be. You want to read more about it, because every animal and every insect and every flower and tarot cards, there's a positive, negative force to things, right? So you just want to take a look at it and see where you may be shutting down out of an old belief system, where you may have an old belief system. Is it really negative? Is it not? Maybe you can turn it around. That's what I would do. Kathy got talent. I have to keep working on my talent and opening it up and using it. And I know Kathy because she's in my membership, and I would say, yes, Kathy, great. Oksana said, wow, it was so accurate. I love that. Raven said it was helpful. I'm glad. Karen got, find my strength, my dream may be leaving and a new one coming in. I'm opening up for new, bright future, growing into my courage. Wonderful. So I want to teach you the ... method. The ... method means you never put a period at anything. So Raven's a great example, right? So she got something negative. Pick your answer. You guys are opening up. You're in a vulnerable position. You're almost afraid of what you're going to let in. So all of a sudden you may get something negative, right? And you're like, what do I do with that? You don't put a period after anything. You always ask more questions. Let's go further into this. What does this mean? Let me Google this animal and see what's said on the internet about it. Let me look at images and see how I feel. You always want to go further into things, Say they gave you a yellow color. And you're like, all right, they just gave me yellow. Never put a period. What does yellow mean to me? Well, the yellow means the sun. I really like the sun. The sun makes me feel bright. It reminds me of the sun card. You go on and on and on. Keep applying those answers to the symbols to your question, and you're going to get answers to your questions. Now, does that mean you're going to get more questions? Because you're all asking to live a very expansive life, right? So you're going to just learn to grow more and more and more. So what do you think? So this is why you showed up today. And I feel by your responses, a lot of you already got a lot out of this. You know deep down in your heart, you know your guides exist. You know they want to help you. You want to feel inspired again. Many of you, when I hear from you, you're in jobs that you don't like, and you know that you have a bigger, deeper purpose in life, and you don't know how to start, get out of that and get into something new. You want to open up to your gifts. I don't care if you're 85 listening to this webinar. You can open up to your gifts anytime. When I started studying, I had a medium that said, only he can do what only he was special that way. That's the way they introduced him. And I love this medium, but I was like, really? Are you kidding me? We all have these gifts. And the dimensions, the veil between the dimensions are getting thinner. Our consciousness is rising. These gifts can grow at any time. You can be empathic today, and as you work on your clairvoyancy, you can become clairvoyancy any day after it. It's time for you to communicate with your guides in an easy way every day. Remember, this is a tool that you have to use every single day in order to see results. You're just as gifted as everyone else, right? You have guides like everyone else. You were chosen like everyone else, not like that medium who made people feel, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think it's an antiquated view, but you don't want that. You know your life can flow so much easier if you're in contact with your guides. Remember something, I was just like you. And I knew, remember that picture at MTV? I knew in my heart that I was not alone. But I was so lost, so confused, and I didn't know how to get out of my own way. But I kept studying. I kept working. And when I found my whole life, when I found my guides, my entire life changed. My life changes every single day because of my guides. We all have the same gifts. I just learned tools and techniques that work because my guides are such teaching guides. And I'm a very creative teacher, as you can see. Tools that let me have a very strong relationship with them. If I can do this, so can you.
Hi everyone, I'm Marilyn Alauria, psychic medium, teacher, and coach, founder of the 28-Day Challenge, Constant Communication with Your Guides, and Membership for Your Soul. And I'm really excited to be talking to you about this class at Sacred U called Communication with Your Soul Guides. I am a big believer that you need to know your guides on an intimate basis. It can't be willy-nilly out here. And when you get to know your guides on that kind of level, you get to co-create a life with them that is filled with balance, peace, harmony, and joy. How can I talk so specifically about this? Because they did it for me. They took me out of the sadness of my life, and they brought so much joy and connection into my life, which gave me a lot of inner peace, momentum, and purpose. So I have this incredible class that I designed for all of you. So I want to teach you how to have a great experience with your guides, and to also help you through the things that are difficult in life, because life isn't always woohoo, that's not reality. So come join me. I really look forward to getting to know you. I'm Marilyn Alauria, psychic medium, teacher, and coach. Help me. I just would love to coach you and teach you how to connect with your guides. Have a great day or night whenever you're watching this. Thank you.